Like, I don't want to encourage people to not think. And that's the thing. Sometimes when people, if you make it seem like there's no effect that any of this has whatsoever, like, and nor could it ever, you deny the potentiality of it having an effect, even ostensibly. Then what that does is it deters people to not even potentially even want to have the conversation at all. To be like, okay, well, why don't I immerse myself in Star Wars? Why don't I think
Yeah.
about astrophysics or anything else?
Yeah. So this is something that people do have to wrestle with. Yeah. And in my book, I talk about the 4 Fs, the enclaves that people retreat
Yeah.
into when they recognize that politics is not going to do anything for them. Right. Now, I make the point that the enclaves all inevitably get politicized. Politics comes and finds you in your enclave. In whatever alternative you pick to politics, you will not escape it. You will hide from it for a while, and then it will come get you again. Because if you try to make a family, you'll struggle to do that for political reasons. If you get involved in some internet fandom, the political economy of entertainment media will come and mess with your internet fandom. And the same is true for if you get absorbed with some tech futurist vision, or if you get heavily involved in religion, the way in which politics shapes society will affect any kind of cultural organization or space that you try to create or participate in. That said, some people will decide that what they would rather do is hide a lot and try to avoid it as much as possible because there seems to be a lack of efficacy. Some people will do that. And I can't fault them for doing it. I really can't, because what I'm talking about here is something that we could spend our whole lives doing. And even if it does produce a result, we might not see that result. It might not be ours to benefit. So there is a reality here that might be the case for many people that what they should do, given what they care about, given what matters to them in life, is to stop.
To drop out of politics.
Yeah, that might be the move for a lot of people. And a lot of people do that all the time. And when they do that, I don't think that they're doing something wrong. So one of the things that's been important to me is to not bash people for quitting politics and dropping out and going back to lunch and whatever else it is. If there's something else you can do that isn't politics, you'll probably be in some ways a happier person if you can get yourself to go and do those things, provided you can bear the ways in which politics will inevitably intervene in those spaces and mess with those things that you try to do. But for some of us who are incorrigibly political, who cannot not care about these things because the obvious importance of them is too much for us to simply brush aside, then there's something for us to do, which is to try and try and try to think and think and think about all of this for as long as it takes until something that actually is meaningful becomes clear. Something that actually could make a difference. But I don't think that that's going to be the bulk of the population. I don't think most people are incorrigibly political in the way that, say, I am. And I wouldn't expect people to be, and I don't think they're obligated to be. I don't think people have a moral duty to be incorrigibly political. I think it's a weird kind of type. And I'm okay with that. I am, okay with it. It really is fine. Most people are just being stressed out all the time by political content that upsets them. They aren't doing anything helpful in response to that content. That content is just making them worse off. It's messing with their mental health and negatively affecting them and hurting their friendships, hurting their relationships with other people. I am perfectly content to say that for large numbers of people, the best thing they can do in their life is to stop following this stuff. And indeed, our discussion would be better if a lot of those people did just that. Because if you're at a point, if you're in a setting where all you can do is react emotionally to stuff that comes in through the computer, yes, stop. Just stop. We'll all be better off if you do. And if you know somebody whose way of interacting with politics is that, if you can get them to stop, you've done them a favor. Don't try to fix it. Just invite them to stop if you can. Then for those of us who really, really can't help but care about this, even if it doesn't have anything immediate to do, even if there is no obvious career that comes from caring about it in a serious way, if we can stick with it and find ways to continue to talk about it, then we can give birth to or revive a tradition of human thinking, or a plurality of traditions of human thinking, that will maybe over time enable us to get on top of this to the point at which we can find something to do. Maybe. And if not us, then maybe the kind of discussion that we create will be inspirational for somebody else, triggering, prompting for somebody else. And I'm completely okay with it if it's not me and if it's not anybody I know. It could be people in 500 years. Yeah. Adorno talks about messages in a bottle for future people. Can we even make it the case that a historian in 200 years, when they come back and talk about this period, that they have some good source material? There's some good discussions of what happened and why it happened that helps people in the future understand what took place and why it took place. Even something just like that would be something. It would give people in the future some basis for thinking about what to do in relation to our own time period. When we go back and read all of the history and different periods of intellectual thought, there are people who have written some decent books that we can read. There's some decent material from the past for us to look at. And that helps us. It helps us think about our own situation, and it helps us understand things that happened in the past. Can we do that for people in the future? Can we care about people in the future in that kind of serious way? I don't expect this to be something that everybody can do or wants to do or sees value or purpose in. Maybe some of us. And it only takes a few of us to get something going that's a good conversation. If there were 6 people who were doing this regularly, just talking about this stuff all the time, very small numbers of people who have different expertises or different points of view, even just the kind of number that you'd put in a monastery or something, a handful of, scattered people. And then you put, all that is required in terms of public messaging is just enough sharing the fruits of the discussion that people can find it and benefit from it if it's something that they care about. But the people who are just looking to find an activisty reason to do activisty stuff, they're never going to be interested in me or what I think or my perspective or what I'm trying to do. I don't try to win them over. I surrender. The old what's left stuff that I used to do, I have surrendered all of that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to produce a consensus through internet interventions. And I spent years and years of my life trying to do that kind of stuff. Years of writing blog posts and doing podcasts. Doesn't go anywhere. At the very least, I have decisively proven that I can't do it. So that's not going to be how I spend the rest of my life.
You got right at the heart of the matter of the contradictions that I'm trying to really get at here, that I think are important to clarify. Why I've extended it as long as I have. Sometimes when there's a thread, you just can't let it hang. We have to take it. We have to understand it.
Yeah. And choke it out if necessary.
Exactly.